Russia, China declare Cold War 2.0 against the US and NATO. What if the sounds of the past came back with a scary new twist? A lot of people are calling what Russia and China did today Cold War 2.0 with the US and NATO. What does this mean for peace and security around the world, though? This video goes into detail about what this bold statement means and how these geopolitical giants are challenging Western domination. It also talks about what might happen as a result. Are we about to enter a new age of conflict and rivalry around the world? Join us as we try to figure out what this new war is all about and how it will affect the rest of the world. Liu stated that as the crisis carries on, they need to find an excuse, and the ready-made excuse now is that China is supporting Russia, backing it from behind. This is the pretext that they use to justify their actions. The United States of America and the North Atlantic Treaty Organization have been convincing themselves that Russia will fail very fast ever since the beginning. In addition to this, they have been contemplating the idea of mounting a counteroffensive, the results of which we have not yet witnessed. In a public discussion that took place during the NATO summit, the Secretary of State of the United States of America, Antony Blinken, made the statement that China is the major contributor to Russia's defense industrial base. Additionally, this statement was made in response to the accusations that NATO has thrown against China regarding the war in Ukraine. A strong criticism was also voiced by the Chinese Ministry of Foreign Affairs, which asserted that the United States has been spreading inaccurate information. Another source of opposition was the Chinese government. China cannot be held accountable for its own actions by the United States because the majority of countries have not participated in sanctions against Russia or cut off trade with it. This makes it impossible for the United States to hold China accountable for its own actions. Large-scale aid packages for Ukraine have been passed by the United States, but at the same time the United States is making baseless charges against China and Russia for engaging in legitimate economic and trade exchanges. Lin considers this to be an example of hypocrisy and double standards, which are both clear in this situation. According to Kui Heng, a scholar from the China National Institute for SCO International Exchange and Judicial Cooperation, who spoke with the Global Times on Thursday, the significance of the cooperation between China and Russia lies in the fact that it acts as a counterbalance to the irresponsible actions of the United States and the West. Consequently, this contributes to the maintenance of a just and well-organized functioning of the world. One of the most common types of cooperation between China and Russia is one that focuses on energy production chains and agricultural sectors. This type of cooperation is considered to be more conventional. The expert went on to say that the fact that the West, led by the United States, terminated its collaboration with Russia while simultaneously pressuring other countries to do the same is purely evidence of the West's hubris, narrow-mindedness, and self-centered outlook toward the world. Furthermore, a number of experts have pointed out that the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, NATO, is primarily a military alliance that continues to function and increases its existence through times of crisis, conflict, and even war. This is something that has been pointed out by a number of experts. The North Atlantic Treaty Organization, NATO, has recently increased its rhetoric against China, which is a sign that it is willing to construct a globalized functional and institutional framework with worldwide impact. This is provided as an indication that the NATO is eager to create such a framework. According to Lai Haidong, a professor at the China Foreign Affairs University, who gave an interview to the Global Times on Thursday, they are attempting to achieve the globalization of NATO by inflating the so-called China threat and provoking threats against China. This is what they are doing in order to achieve their goal. Lai made the observation that the more they talk about China and the more hostile their rhetoric is, the more it demonstrates that NATO is using the China issue to promote its position in the Asia-Pacific area and globally. This is the case especially when they talk about China more frequently. The hype and intensification of the China issue serve as a catalyst for NATO to accelerate and strengthen its presence, influence, and actions globally, especially in the Asia-Pacific region, according to a person with extensive information. Due to the fact that NATO has been functioning as a geopolitical instrument for the United States, knowledgeable individuals believe that Washington was the driving force behind the heightened rhetoric of the alliance toward China. The fact that Vice President Joe Biden of the United States did not specifically name China in his comments at the NATO summit does not change the reality that this is particularly true. Consequently, the United States is the one who is responsible for orchestrating the expansion of the language that NATO is currently using and the actions that are anticipated to be taken against China, as Lee pointed out. The United States will eventually force such a NATO along the road of the global strategic battle that the United States has planned with China. This is the reason why this is the case. Also, by pulling NATO into the Asia-Pacific region to engage in geopolitical competition against China, the U.S. is likely to adopt a strategy of gathering allies to confront opponents or forcing parties to take side. According to a number of claims that have been published in the media of the United States, the NATO is increasing its proximity to its Asian collaborators in order to compete with China. Further, according to a report by Fox News, White House National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan was quoted as saying that 4 new cooperative initiatives will be launched by NATO members and partners in the Indo-Pacific region. Ukraine, artificial intelligence, efforts to disseminate false information, and cybersecurity will be the primary focuses of these developments. On the other hand, a number of experts have claimed that the likelihood of European military forces being deployed in the Pacific region is still fairly low. They believe that this is the case. There are a great number of European countries that are members of NATO, and the United States of America does not share the same perspective. According to a military analyst based in Beijing on Thursday, the North Atlantic Treaty Organization may publish statements that are aggressively worded against China. However, actually turning to limit China is something that NATO is neither capable of nor likely to achieve. If you're intrigued by the new tensions between Russia, China, and the West, don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell. Be part of the conversation. Subscribe now to never miss an update.